So here we have Sam Winter and Peter Gluskie holed up in full lockdown in Queensland, ready for Targa Great Barrier Reef. What's up, Sam and Peter, and where are you right now?
We're in the Novotel near Brisbane Airport, and week one of isolation complete, and counting the days until Friday when we get released from our 2 weeks in quarantine, and we can head to Cairns from there.
Okay, so you've got another week and a bit to go then.
Yeah, just about a week. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Any others incarcerated there with you?
No others from the racing fraternity. The hotel itself is full of people in isolation, and I believe in Brisbane there's about 6 or 7 different hotels that are currently full, and there's about 1,000 people in Brisbane currently isolating for one reason or another. So it's the place to be, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Are there any other competitors in the hotel with you?
We're not sure that anybody's as mad as us, Jeffrey, to want to do this for 2 weeks. We know that Ben Sale from Other Side Productions, who does all the Targa footage and does all the filming in the TV show, he's in quarantine up in Darwin. So we've been having a chat with him while we're on the journey. But yeah, we think we're the only two that are kind of mad enough. But when you come from stage 4 quarantine or lockdown in Melbourne, it's as close to quarantine as this anyway. So yeah, and it's a bit warmer here, and at least it's sunny outside instead of being, cold and miserable and raining.
Is Ben actually going to come to Cairns and do any filming, or what's the story?
Yeah, so he's gone via Darwin, and then he can just travel across, and he's coming to do the whole Targa footage and what he would normally do with the TV show. And I think he's got a local crew who are going to help him this year because his guys couldn't get up with him, so he's rejigging how he's going to do. But the little end of day videos and the Targa TV show will be there as well, so we look forward to that.
Terrific. Okay, so have you heard anything much from Targa Australia and how COVID-19 is affecting the event?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we can't gather in big masses, and Peter can talk about it a bit more than me, but online, so all of the documentation process is online. So we had to put all our documents up in a Dropbox. And so we made sure we did that before we left Melbourne to make sure we had everything and didn't forget. And then, Peter, there's some scrutineering form is online. And then I think we get sent the driver's briefing to watch. And then we have to fill in a disclaimer that we watched it and answer some questions, I think.
Yeah, and certainly some of the festival, the Targa Fest on the Saturday night, which the last couple of years have had 10 to 15,000 locals come down. Obviously, in the current environment, they've cancelled that, and we're doing a drive-through parade through the streets. So obviously, they've modified the event a little bit given the current restrictions, which I think is obviously very sensible, but certainly still allows the event to continue in that modified form. Right.
Okay. So events that we've had here in New South Wales, we've actually done self-scrutineering, ticked all the boxes ourselves, and then if they feel like picking on you, they'll nab you at the event. But I haven't seen too much of that happening, frankly.
No, and that's, you're right. I mean, that's the self-scrutineering, and that's also quite common in the circuit racing side of it. There's a whole responsibility obviously on the car driver / owner to sort that out, and I think from this point of view that makes sense rather than having lots of people congregate at the traditional scrutineering, come catch up, come discuss with everybody that you haven't seen for a while what's been going on. So I think that's all reasonable, and I suppose from my point of view with the car, it sees quite regular competition, so there's that many eyes look over it between myself, my mechanic, and the scrutineers in the last 12 months. I'm pretty confident that we've got the bases covered.
Yeah, fair enough. So what was your last event?
There was the last event was back in Melbourne, was the Lake Mountain Sprint, which was early March. I think was basically, it occurred on the weekend before Melbourne sort of dropped into the first round of stage 3, I think it was.
Well, it wasn't even Melbourne. It was actually when Australia went into
Right,
lockdown.
yeah, basically it was the
Stage
very
one.
start of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was talk about when we, like in the week leading up to it, whether it would actually happen or not. And then obviously it's a AASA sanctioned event, not Motorsport Australia, and they were pretty keen, given it's a smaller field and that we could spread ourselves out a bit to make sure that it went ahead if it could. And then, yeah, the announcements came that the lockdown was coming on the Monday. So it was, yeah, kind of really fortuitous. If it had been a week later, then we wouldn't have done that.
Mm.
And then obviously Targa has got cancelled. So, you know, and who knows what's going to happen in the second part of this year and whether Targa High Country or some of those other things will happen. So kind of it's like might be the only opportunity to get in the car.
Yeah, fair enough. So have you had a look at the, well, I guess you can only look at it on the map at this stage. There's no wrecking you can do, but is the event going to be a great deal different to how it was when you've done it last?
I was actually having a look at the footage only today of some of the earlier stages we've done the last couple of years. I'd say day 1 and day 3 are pretty much stages we've done. Day 2 is a bit different this year, running in a different direction. There's probably half of those stages we've seen before and the other half are new.
I don't think we've seen any of day 2. Day 2 is all much further down south near Innisfail. Day 2 is all new.
So day 2 is certainly very different. I mean, last year they went into the hinterland. This year they're going down to the Kasarari coast, as they call it. So yeah, it's heading in a very different direction. So yes, until we've seen that, I mean, part of it, you know, what we normally have done is we get up there, and same this year, we'll get up there, so 2 or 3 days, 4 days before the event, have a chance to do a bit of a recce. But obviously those new stages, at least we can go and drive them in the hire car and get familiar with them, particularly the ones that, you know, we haven't seen before. As always, you know, we rely on Bernie and Steve's smooth line notes, and that's always a very great start point. Those have used them, there's, you know, a lot of confidence, but at the same time, it's good to run it over yourself before the event and get your head around what's coming up.
Yeah, fair enough. So we've got a 3-day event this year, and have you heard much from the locals about the event, like any pre-publicity or anything like that?
I think the locals are pretty stoked that it's going on. I took a call from Targa Media in the week, and I think, you know, particularly if the New South Wales guys aren't able to get up, we might be the only interstate crew that arrives. And so, you know, there'll probably be a little bit of media, but I think we're probably a bit circumspect too, Jeffrey, because, you know, we're mindful that whilst we applied for an exemption and got one, you know, there's a whole heap of people that are in a heap of pain and who can't get across the border for medical treatment or to see loved ones and those things. So it's this really weird experience that we applied and got granted the exemption, you know, and a few people are kind of like, well, you know, well, how did you get that and why did you get it? And I don't know, we kind of took the approach, it's a bit like lotto, you've got to be in it to win it. And so we applied, and we're probably, you know, thinking it was 50-50 at best. And when it came through, we're pretty excited, but we're also mindful that, you know, that people can't get to see loved ones or go to a funeral, or they've had a birth, or, you know, and so it's a bit circumspect and a bit surreal in some ways. Is that fair to say, Peter?
Yeah, we certainly, when we applied for this, 6 or 8 weeks ago. So we gave them plenty of lead time and decision making. And I think a lot of the ones we're hearing recent times on the media, they want to bypass hotel quarantine because of it. There's an urgent need for them across the border. I think that would be a lot harder set of circumstances, when we always said we were happy to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks. I mean, and to be fair, both Sam and I have got that luxury. I mean, we both have basically office-based jobs, therefore we can work remotely. I mean, I've been working from home myself since March, so sitting at my desk in my apartment by myself is no different than sitting in a hotel at a desk by myself working away. So really, that means I can have 2 weeks up here in isolation, and Sam's in very much the same situation. I think that's a product of our own personal circumstances. Obviously, people, if they had families or, a tradesman who needs to be on the tools, etc., a 1 week trip to Cairns becomes a 3 week trip, and obviously that's not sustainable for many people. So from that point of view, I guess we are very fortunate, but equally, I think for both of us, we treat when going rallying for both of us is stress relief and enjoyment as much as anything. We both have pretty high pressure jobs, so it's a good chance to get some downtime. And I think particularly at the moment, working in industries that are affected by the current circumstances, we both just felt we actually just needed it. So, and it's an adventure. We've met some interesting people along the way. We have daily chats with our, with the police here that are helping out of the hotel, and like you're meeting different people. It's something that we'll remember. The joy of quarantine amongst all the other things that tend to happen along the way.
Certainly a different situation. One we'll all remember, hopefully one day. And now, in relation to the car, have you had to do any special preparation to it or anything like that? And for that matter, for those who know nothing about it, what sort of car have you got?
So I've got a BMW E30, so mid 80s 3 Series BMW, which we've been quite successfully campaigning now for 5 or 6 years. It was quite interesting because in the lead up to this event, when Targa do a deal with Seva Transport to move the vehicles around and get them to Cairns for the event, so I'd sort of booked that in, and had 2 or 3 weeks before the event, kind of like, I'll get myself organised, and we got the okay from the Queensland government to say we come up here, and on the same day was when Victorian announced that they were about to basically shut the state down because of the stage 4 restrictions and a nightly curfew, etc., etc. So
hang on. It was a little bit more dramatic than that. Dan Andrews started talking, and we're both sitting in our own houses, going, "Oh my God, what this is going to be like? Curfews and what's the world?" And 10 minutes later, your phone pings and the message came through.
Yes, it came through right in the middle of Dan Andrews' media conference. So the timing couldn't have been better because all of Melbourne was feeling very sad, and all of a sudden I'm jumping for joy in the lounge room. So the timing of the email from the Queensland government couldn't have been better. But what it then meant is we basically, so that was the Sunday. The Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I was out at Traction Tyres in Melbourne to get a new set of Yokohamas on the car because I needed tyres and was going to get to that. But all of a sudden, they would probably have closed down. So I had no, confidence if I left it any longer that I'd still be able to get tyres. And equally, within that week, most businesses in Victoria got shut down as part of all this. So I made the decision to basically take the car straight to Seva 2 weeks early and left to their transport depot and said, "Look, here's the vehicle. I've got it here." So the whole readiness was quite compressed as far as getting the car sorted and organised. And I certainly gave it a good once over before I drove it out to the depot. But the usual 11 p.m. scramble by torchlight to get a car ready for this event wasn't what I was necessarily planning, but we got there. The car is currently in transit. In fact, ironically, it's sitting at the Brisbane depot, which is only about 1 kilometre from our hotel. So it's sort of out there at the moment, heading towards Cairns. So we'll be reunited with the car in Cairns, I think, about Thursday before the event.
Is anyone helping you out? Have you got a service crew or anything of that nature?
No, not this year. Often my brother comes for service crew and a chance to work on his suntan, but he's from Tassie, so that's just all a bit too difficult at the moment. So no, and we tend to be fairly self-sufficient. So I'm sure if with the couple of boxes of spare parts and the tool bag I've got with me, we should be right under most circumstances, and we'll have to muddle it from there if something big is needed.
Oh, there's plenty of local competitors. So Linda Rankin and Steve Van Berg, I think his surname is. I just know him as Linda and Steve. Like, they're locals. So, if something untoward would happen, and it won't, then, I'm sure they're connected and we could get some help if we need to.
Fair enough. And just to sort of wrap it up now, what class will you be running in, and how many are competing in your particular class?
I'll go and look at how many.
Yeah, look, it's interesting because every day you look at the competitor list, it dwindles because all the interstate people drop off. So we're running in the classic class, which is the handicap group of the classic cars. So cars that are older than 1989 sort of thing. I think it is the cutoff 1990. I think it's the cutoff there somewhere. And there's about 5 in that group. At the same time, the classic GT class, which is more the outright non-handicap group. We keep a very close eye on each other. We're sort of one of the quicker cars in that combined group, so we're always like to benchmark ourselves against the GT cars as well. And I think they've got about 5 or 6 as well. So between those two groups, it's nice that the classic field is, probably not quite a quarter of the overall. Sadly, the numbers are down dramatically. But it's good that a few people are getting the cars out of the garage and having a run with them.
Fair enough. All right. Well, maybe we'll be fortunate enough to have a bit of a chat to you a bit closer, or maybe during the event, and you can let us know how you're going.
No problems. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, folks.